Because my committee of elders investigated matters to do with deaths in some of our facilities, Mr. Speaker. And in that investigation, Mr. Speaker, we found issues to do with negligence, we found issues to do with lack of equipments, we found issues to do with lack of implementation of policy and regulations from the ministry. And as much as we've unearthed all those things, put them in the report, Mr. Speaker, I would want to be guided as the Chair for Health. How do we make sure that this is implemented so that we also don't produce reports that end up not being utilized? And Mr. Speaker, I agree with Senator Majority Leader when he says when there are active conversations. In my committee, Mr. Speaker, the issue of universal health coverage is so central to the Kenya Kwanza administration. But Mr. Speaker, we are a very frustrated committee because from when we came to this house and when the committees were established, the Cabinet Secretary for Health has never appeared before a committee. She has never honored us having an induction session to scrutinize the program of UAC, Mr. Speaker. We only deal with matters when they have processed and they want us to just go there during the launch, Mr. Speaker, and we find it extremely very difficult as a committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are scheduled to have the CS for Health on Friday, and we hope she will appear before the committee so that those matters can be prosecuted. I agree that we need, probably in our order papers, Mr. Speaker, time to appraise the House on matters that are alive in the general populace as a conversation, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I only want to disagree with the Majority Leader that, you know, in 2013, we were aware governors were small goats. Mr. Speaker, it is not our making, Mr. Speaker, and I think there is a session we need to have. How you induct people into a program and an office, you later on don't come and blame them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, the first meeting we had as elected governors of this country in 2013, we were invited to a meeting, a very high-level meeting, Mr. Speaker, in Naivasha, Great Rift. We were 47 governors, senators were there, and guess who were doing the induction? It was the Attorney General of this country, the Chair of Transition Authority, the Chair of SRC, and others. And Mr. Speaker, when the forum was being closed, the Attorney General then the governor. So we never went to River Jordan or River Muiben or River Nairobi and baptized ourselves, His Excellency, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is what we were inducted into. Mr. Speaker, I remember the issue of the national flag being flown by governors became an issue. It was not the making of governors. It was during that induction and inauguration of governors, Mr. Speaker, that we found our vehicles already fitted with a flag. And we only drove in the vehicles that were fitted with a black flag, with a very new title. What were we supposed to do when we have been given an induction and we have been released officially to go to work? So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to reiterate that so that we really understand. The other aspect, Mr. Speaker, that I think we need to prosecute is the issue of recurrent expenditure in counties. And I've said time and again, there is need for the...
What is your point of order, Senator Kenya?
Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the Senator of Uasin Gishu, and he said he disagrees with the Majority Leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot, who said the governors were treated like small gods. But he goes ahead to confirm they were gods, Mr. Speaker, so I don't understand why he's disagreeing with the majority. He should have said, he confirms what majority leader said. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago, I hope you listened to yourself when you, because I actually heard that earlier on when you started, you disagreed midway, you confirmed that fact which the commissioner is saying. You did, if you listen to yourself. Proceed, Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I don't want to argue with my senator for Laikipia, an employer at PSC, but he even never said he was rising on we standing order, Mr. Speaker. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, he has rose and he has made his point. But I was just trying to emphasize that some of the things we see in counties might not be the making of counties. Finally, Mr. Speaker, let me say this. And it is good, my colleague, Senator for Mandera, is the chair for finance. These issues of recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker, we have said there is need to review the accounting reporting standard, particularly on this matter of recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker. If we remove personal emoluments, Mr. Speaker, the rest, some of the recurrent expenditures are development in nature. And I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, for example, in counties, procurement of drugs and non-pharmaceuticals are recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker. Training, Mr. Speaker, is a recurrent expenditure. Mr. Speaker, fuel you use in building a road for own equipment in counties is a recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it would be suffice to say there is need for reclassification of recurrent expenditures, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have the correct view of the spending in counties. Mr. Speaker, we are not saying counties are doing very well 100%. There are issues that we shall need to address as a Senate, and I agree with the majority leader that in our quest of oversight, we must come up with a proper framework where every senator will have a framework for oversighting their activities in their counties. And Mr. Speaker, when we are at that point, Mr. Speaker, I would propose that there be a legislation that puts into place the process of oversight in counties, so that, Mr. Speaker, governors also don't imagine senators are on a witch and mission. Mr. Speaker, it would be good if we put in a financial year the budget of that county, an oversight framework, so that under meeting between the executive and the senator and his team for oversight with the MCAs, Mr. Speaker, and we agree on a framework of oversight, so that when senators go to the field, Mr. Speaker, to check on projects, to ask questions, is within a certain framework that will enable the Senate to make very meaningful progress in terms of oversight, Mr. Speaker, and make sure that the funds that go to counties do impact the lives of citizens at the county level. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Senator Mandago. The chair notes that in the course of your submissions, Senator Mandago, you inquired as to the fate of the reports that are tabled by the various committees in the House. And I would like to just confirm that Understanding Order 225, it speaks about reports on Senate resolutions. In essence, it speaks about what happens to the reports which are submitted before the House. And when